Alors bonjour à tous, aujourd'hui vendredi, dernier jour du salon, et Mac4ever est allé voir IBM qui a un stand sur la MacWorld. So John, can you introduce IBM? Why IBM is on the show?
Absolutely. Thanks. Good afternoon. We're here, thrilled to be here at MacWorld in San Francisco. I'm John Beck, a product manager from the Lotus brand of IBM Software Group. And we're here today specifically to talk about our products. We've been on the Macintosh platform for over 20 years. Some of you may actually find some surprise in that, and that's actually why we're here, to remind folks that we're here, and more importantly, to kick off our Lotus Notes and Domino 8.5 release. We just announced it on Tuesday at the show. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to talk about the fact that we offer the Mac platform in conjunction with Windows and Linux simultaneous ship. In previous years, we've always had a port of the Macintosh platform. We're actually a native application now, and so we're very thrilled to be here on that. We're also announcing our Lotus Symphony product, which is a desktop editing suite containing spreadsheet, presentation, and document capabilities based on our Open Office technology. Again, it is consistent with all our client-facing products and is built on the Eclipse foundation. We're very interested in the Mac platform at IBM. In fact, internally we use a significant number. Thousands of IBMers actually have the Mac as their primary workstation platform, and thousands more in our development shops are leveraging the wonderful benefits of the Mac OS X, both architecture and hardware, in that you can run multiple operating systems. So from a cost-saving standpoint, we're able to take the hardware, run Linux, Windows, and Macintosh all together, do our testing facilities all on one consolidated hardware. So we're very excited about the Mac at IBM. We're thrilled to be here, and so I guess I can hand over to some of my colleagues in Software Group.
Yeah, but what is the answer of the market? What the people on the show, what are they saying about the fact that IBM is coming back to the Mac? Do you have some user happy or?
Absolutely. So our enterprise market is very interested in the Mac platform, as we are at IBM. We're seeing a tremendous trend of both from the bottom up and from the top down interest in the Mac platform. We see our C-level execs coming in and saying, make this work, I love these devices, I want them to work in my enterprise. We see folks coming in from college with devices in their hands saying, make this work in the enterprise. So it's absolutely a phenomenal groundswell. You can see the numbers from the analysts and press community that talk about the reality that Mac in the enterprise is growing. We've been here all along, and we're here to remind folks that we have these solutions on the Mac.
Great. Okay. And there's another part of the IBM software that you are presenting on the show is more the developer-oriented parts. And I'm here with Sean and Kelly from IBM. And actually, are you both from Rational previously?
I'm from Rational previously, Legacy Rational. Right?
Okay. So IBM is coming to the Mac with some parts of the Rational suite software. So what is the first software you're proposing for the Mac?
The first software that we're proposing, and we're showing a prototype here that Sean's actually moved over to the Mac platform for this show, and we're excited to be here, is Buildforge. And Buildforge is process automation framework. So if any shop from small number of users to very large number of users find they're not focusing on development, but they're getting hung up with the builds, with the testing, with the regressions, all this, that's where a Buildforge would come in. And so we're testing to see what's the level of interest for the Rational software development solution on the OS X platform.
Okay, so the basic idea is to have a tool, a server, which will compile and test automatically your software to be sure that you have no regression while developing new features or fixing bugs. That's basically the idea?
That's one of the main use cases, yeah.
Okay, so can you maybe show us how it works?
Sure. So here on the floor of MacWorld, I've been having it run periodic builds of WebKit, the rendering engine of the Safari browser. And so what I'm going to show right now is something that's a little more interesting, since it'll have something that you can see being automated, which is just a few click-through tests which will bring it through the acid tests for the browser. So this is running on live code, and it just uses Apple scripts to actually manipulate the browser once it's launched. Initially there's a start page. You can configure everything any which way you really want to. get a preview of steps.
I don't know if we can see that well on the camera, but the interface is running inside Firefox, inside a web browser.
Right now it's running inside of Firefox. It can run inside Safari. The only reason that I'm not is because AppleScript gets a little confused if you have more than one instance of a Safari browser running.
Yeah,
it doesn't
because
really know which one to
what
pick up
we're
on.
going to test is Safari, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so the idea is you get the software, you get the source code of the software through Subversion or...
Right, so the periodic builds, the way that works is we have an adapter to work with Subversion, and that checks the repository periodically, and if there's been changes since the last time the build is run, then it kicks off a build after logging all of the changes and those details into Buildforge, and then kicks off the build. The periodic run uses the command line just xcode build command, so it's just using the xcode projects that come with WebKit, and then once that passes, then it kicks off the regression tests for the rendering and the JavaScript core as well.
Which is actually the regression test being actually exactly the same thing as what you do when you go to the acid test website, and
that's actually different. What I'm going to show is the acid test. The regression tests are a set of really minute test cases. There are just over 10,000 regression tests for the rendering engine, and I don't remember exactly how many there are for the JavaScript core. But the acid tests, there are 3 of them. Periodically, they'll bring these up, and it's mainly to really be a smoke test and really bring out the pain points of rendering engines. And WebKit was one of the first. I think they and Opera both the same day released a nightly build that passed the 3rd acid test.
Yeah, which is a lot, and you don't want to do that manually.
Yes.
So.
So I'll start this off, and what this is doing is this is a web application that's managing all of the information, and then there's an engine running behind the scenes also on this machine, and that is picking up the build, and then each of these steps, which are very small on the screen I have no doubt, but each of these steps is being run on an agent that is also running on this machine, and normally you would have those split out onto separate machines in order to have your build servers just running the agents and then just one single machine running Buildforge itself so that it doesn't affect the build cycles.
Yeah, so the server could be just a single machine, but it could also be like a server farm or a computing farm to build
and then
faster.
You could have your agents running on whatever platforms your build farm needed to support. So you could have Windows agents and Mac agents and Linux agents.
Which is great for more and more developers which are developing software for macOS and for Linux and for different platforms actually, right? Can you tell us something about the integration with the iPhone, even if you cannot show it?
Well, because of the way that the
Apple is not here, so you can speak.
Because of the way that the iPhone developers write software, they write it the same as Mac client developers. So it's the same toolkit, so it would have the same level of integration. You would just be running Xcode builds right down the command line, and the iPhone simulator is just a native application, so that should be pretty trivial to script smoke tests if you want to do that. I haven't had the chance to play around with working on the device and automating that on the command line.
But it could be possible.
Anything that you can run on the command line, you can automate through Buildforge.
Yeah, so testing and compiling software for the iPhone and testing it through using Buildforge is totally possible.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of configuration, right?
Exactly.
Right, embedded is also supported, right, because these agents are very small, so you could put an agent on an embedded platform and actually control that and test with that.
En fait, on se demande un petit peu le public vise IBM avec un tel outil. What are your customers for this kind of product? Is it mostly small business or big business or small developers?
So, of course, we're interested in all developers, and so nobody needs to go away. Maybe the one-person shop who does it all, but when they're 2, then we want to talk to them. So small businesses, medical device manufacturers, software applications, all the way up to enterprises with geographically distributed teams. Back-end database, Sean may not have commented on that, but there's options on the back-end database to support enterprise scalability as well. So we support small to large, geographically distributed internationally. We have examples of those as well.
I have a question for the kind of public that you can target. Do web developers or web app developers, would they need that? Would they need Buildforge?
Well, speaking as a web developer, I can say that I actually use it for a couple of different things. I use it to run my own unit tests. So I use PHP unit because the web application is written in PHP, and JS unit for the front-end unit tests. So I kick that off with Buildforge and log everything with that, but I also use it to generate my developer documentation. So that's with PHP Documenter and JS Doc.
Okay, so you mean each time you change something in the software in the
right, then it can
in
pick
the source
up on
code?
those changes and then kick off a build of just the documentation. So it's
Yeah. So maybe guys, if you are a developer, you have seen some documentation from Apple, for example. It's actually automatically built. It actually automatically rendered from the source code, and you can do that quite easily on an automated way, just running Buildforge.
And those results are stored as well in what we call our bill of materials. And once this build is done, Sean might be able to take us through that and to show that you can look at the results of a build.
Yeah, that's actually the for me that's a very interesting part, because once the test and the compilation is done, then you want to see and you want to analyze your results, your test and build results.
So WebKit actually gave me a good example of that, as this morning I opened up the machine and started it, and
It failed.
yes, someone in the last 12 hours since this was built broke the build. So one of the things that
Was
you
it
can
you,
do
Kelly?
with this
No.
is in the bill of materials. This is from that adapter that I was talking about that talks with Subversion. This logs all of the check-ins that were made. And like I said, because this was overnight, there were many of them. But if you had it running every hour, all throughout the night as well, there would only be a few per, depending on how busy you were. So you have all of the different check-ins with each of the users so that you can take a look and see who it was that broke the build. And you can also get a quick view of each of the changes. So this is every single file that was changed by those check-ins from those nights with the check-in numbers themselves.
So Matthew, it looks like you made this change.
No, I'm not. I'm not
you
developing
did.
on the WebKit, so it's not me. But okay, we can then kind of target who has done the modification and see
Exactly. And
who
then from
will
that
have to fix
standpoint,
it.
you can also, we have reporting built into it, so you can also get an idea of, over time, how has the quality of builds been, how long has it been taking, have there been more failures when it's been on a certain machine that it's been building on, and really kind of get a really fine-grained view of how things are working.
Okay, and Buildforge can do that for you, actually.
Yes.
It kind of helps you tracking the quality of the software.
Yes.
Very interesting. In terms of other possible software coming from IBM to the Mac, at least for the developers, can you tell us more if you're planning, or if you're, what are you waiting for bringing us all the other rational tools?
We're waiting to hear from your readers. We're waiting to hear from the Mac Forever readers,
Écoutez bien, hein,
developers.
ils veulent votre avis.
So that there's a business case. We have, if you're familiar with UML modeling, with software modeling, the rationalists and historically, we'd like to bring that to the Macintosh platform. And we're here at MacWorld to get an idea of what is the interest from the Mac developer community.
Yeah, because
we'd like to hear from you.
yeah, something we forgot to say is all of that is actually written in Java, right? All your tools are basically
Many of the tools
Java
are,
classes.
not all of them. There's many different, like with Buildforge, there's many different components, and so each of them requires a different kind of technology.
Okay.
But many of the rational tools are written in Java.
So if it's written in Java, it's write one and run everywhere, right? So it should be
That's the
technically,
theory, yes.
yeah, it should be technically not that hard to port most of the rational software to the Mac.
Well, mainly it's a matter of making it work correctly as a Mac user and developer would expect it to, and also generating the kind of internal structure needed to support that. So getting the awareness of how each tool runs on it, and so that's, like Kelly said earlier, that's part of why we're here, is to kind of generate an internal idea of how much interest there is in that, so that we can really get that process going.
Yeah, if you get the feeling that there is enough interest from the Mac developers, then you will or you might bring some new and some more software from Rational to the Mac?
We would love to do that. Our executives are very interested in that. That's why Sean and I are here, just as an indication of the interest in that. And we'd love to be able to be on that platform.
That's good to hear that. By the way, Sean, are you using a Mac as a main machine?
Funny you should ask that. Yes, this is my machine itself. I brought it here for the show. I have everything. This is not my work environment, just obviously, but this is my machine. This is what I do my day-to-day work on, and so this is how I knew that Buildforge could run on a Mac, because I want to work on the Mac and I don't want to give it up.
So maybe on this machine we have some more Rational working tools, right?
Maybe some, but.
What's your feeling regarding the Java integration on the Mac platform, on the Apple platform?
It's been rapidly improving. I'll say that. It started off quite slow, just because.
Yeah, at the beginning that
most of the applications are written in Objective-C, so there really wasn't the demand for the Java environment on the Mac at that point. But it's, especially since Apple has been the one releasing the JREs for the Mac, it's been a little slow going, but luckily it's been picking up a lot since then. So this is running Java. Part of this is written in that. So
this is actually a very good news, because Java is one of the two languages in which we can develop native macOS applications. So that's very interesting. And most of the Rational tools are built on top of the Eclipse IDE, right?
Yes.
So some of our users told us that Eclipse is usually
quite slow,
or maybe very slow.
comparing to the Windows version, for instance.
Yeah. Did you improve that for the recent?
I can't talk to that so much. I'm not an Eclipse user for what I do here, but I have kept in touch with that just because Buildforge does have an Eclipse plugin, so you can do some of the things that I demoed here, such as kicking off a build and looking at some of the results to see if it failed. You can do that from Eclipse from the plugin, so I have been able to see that it has been improving drastically recently, just Eclipse as a platform in general on the Mac.
And John can probably comment on this in more detail, but as you know, the Notes 8.5 for the Macintosh was released, announced at this show.
And it's also working on top of Eclipse.
On top of Eclipse. And in order to make that work, there had to be some improvements to Eclipse on the Macintosh. And if there were Rational software architect, Rational application developer, etc., that are Eclipse-based Rational tools running on the Macintosh, they would take advantage of that improved Eclipse.
That's also another good hint for the future. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. It's good to see that IBM is interested in the Mac, and professional softwares are coming more and more to our platform. So thank you very much, and have a good end of the show.
Thanks, you too.
Well, thank you, and we do want to hear from your constituents.
So guys, if you hear that, so don't hesitate to
Vous avez
comment.
entendu, hein, il faut réagir à cette interview, surtout les développeurs, puisque on sait que les développeurs connaissent bien les solutions d'IBM.
Tout à fait.
Voilà.